Exchange, we have done that. Which one? Flexible, okay. Exchange rate determination, we have started. Fixed we have not done, okay. Okay, so quick recap. So we started with the exchange rate determination in the last class. It talks about how we determine the exchange rate of the currencies. Like how do we determine 1 rupee should be equal to how many dollars, or how many dollars should be equal to how many euros. So exchange rate between the currencies, how do we determine that? So for that we started with that there are broadly 3 systems that we follow globally. Okay, and different countries, they adopt different kind of systems according to whichever system suits their economy the best. So the broadly 3 systems were like flexible exchange rate system or the free float exchange rate system, as is followed by US and other such, you can say, advanced and mature economies. They generally go for this kind of system, okay, free float or flexible exchange rate system, in which the exchange rate determination is done completely by the markets. It is totally market driven. That means there would be no intervention from the government or from the central bank in the price determination. So US follows that, Europe follows that. Most of the advanced mature economies, they go for this flexible or the free float exchange rate system. Another system is now a fixed exchange rate system, which is followed by China and some Middle Eastern countries, and then third system is our India system, which is called as managed float system. So first system we have discussed, free float system, flexible exchange, in which no government intervention, no central bank's intervention in the price determination. And we have discussed it, how do the central banks intervene in the price determination. How do they do that? If your currency is falling, they would sell the foreign exchange. Like in case of India, if rupee is falling, then we have discussed that. How do RBI control that? How do RBI restrict that? By selling dollars or by selling foreign exchange. You defend your currency if it is falling. When it is appreciating, how do you control the appreciation? By printing more of your currency, releasing more of your currency, you can check the appreciation of your currency. This is called as intervention, that the central bank is making an intervention and they are trying to affect the prices. So in India's case also, this is not a very regular feature. It's not that RBI is already always involved in that. We have discussed that whenever rupee is witnessing very large scale fluctuations, then only RBI will intervene in that case. Otherwise, rupee is also largely determined by the rupee's exchange rate is also largely determined by the markets only, largely. Okay, only when it breaches the comfort level of RBI, then only the RBI intervenes in that. Okay. So this is the system. The 3 systems are there. So now let's talk about the fixed exchange rate system, which is followed by China. How would that we'll do later. You just leave the space. I have talked about that. Please leave 3-4 lines for advantage, disadvantage for the free float system. We will come back to, okay, like once we finish all these 3 systems, then we will revisit that. So after the flexible exchange rate system, leave 4 lines, 3-4 lines. After that, second system is the fixed exchange for example China. So in the fixed exchange rate system, the exchange rate of the currency is not market determined. Then how do they but it is fixed the exchange rate of the currency, it is not market determined, but it is fixed by the government. The government here pegs means fixes, government pegs the value of currency to a fixed. The government pegs the value of their currency to a fixed parity. That is 1 USD equals to 8 yuan. So in the fixed exchange rate system like that, like what is followed by China, the government pegging means fixing. The government fixes the value of their currency to a fixed parity. Parity means between these two currencies, this is called as parity. One pair, like $1 should be equal to how many yuan? Chinese yuan. So Chinese would fix this thing. This is called as pegging. They would peg the value of their currency to a fixed parity with dollar. So this is called as fixed parity between yuan and dollar. Okay? Now it looks like a very simple system. Fine. So it looks like a very simple system here. Simple means because in India's case, we are always worried about depreciating currency, and RBI is also worried about that. Policymakers are worried, markets are worried that what will happen if rupee will fall, and RBI makes then all the efforts for this thing. So when there are so much of trouble associated with the currency, that sharp appreciation, sharp depreciation, it can affect your economy in a big manner. Then if this system is present, then why have we gone for a system in which there is a possibility of volatility? Why we have gone for that system when this system is there? Because on the face of it, it may look like a very simple system here. Okay, कि आपको लग रहा है कि मतलब we can also adopt this kind of system, and we will also announce whatever comes to our mind. We will also say $1 equals to 1 rupee. Okay, things like that. When this system is there, so why didn't we opt for? And when choosing this system is all voluntary, when it is all voluntary that you can choose any kind of system which suits your economy, why didn't we go for this system? Okay, government क्या अभी मोहिते क्या कह रहे हैं? Can government do anything? So you just get your answer. Just wait for some time, Mohite. Okay, what value, on what basis does it fix the value? I mean, you'll get your answer. Because on the face of it, it looks very simple, but it's not that simple. Actually, it is the most challenging one among these three systems that we have. It is the most challenging one, especially for the policymakers to go for this system, because this is not the major task. Major task is not announcement that how are you fixing your parity. The major task is defending that parity. Whatever you have announced, are you able to defend that parity or not? Okay, that is the major challenge, and that is the crux of this kind of system. So we can say, what is defending the parity? I will tell you. So here, the government cannot just fix. Government cannot just announce. Government cannot just announce the fixed parity. It will have to commit to defend that parity. It will have to commit. So this is the major task here, that government cannot just announce the fixed parity. It will have to commit to defend that parity as well. Commit to defend that parity as well. So that is the major task. And what is that? Defending the parity. Defending the parity means what? Defending the parity, for example, if 1 USD equals to 8 Chinese yuan. Now tell me that from what you know about China, that generally the Chinese currency yuan should be facing a pressure of appreciation or a pressure of depreciation. In general, most of the times, Chinese currency yuan should be facing a pressure of appreciation against the dollar or depreciation. Depreciation. Why appreciation? Okay. Yes, मतलब depreciation वो चाहते हैं. What they want is depreciation. They want devaluation. But what kind of pressure their currency would be facing. That would be the pressure of appreciation. Why? Okay, because we know that China is a major exporting nation. So if they would export too much, they would get too much of foreign exchange, and the same thing will happen to China also, like what happens to India when foreign exchange comes. Whatever dollar, euros, pounds comes to China, they will have to be converted into yuan. So that would create a demand for yuan, and if supply of yuan is not good enough, yuan would tend to appreciate. But they can't, because they are following the fixed exchange rate system. They can't allow their currency to appreciate. Getting it? So generally, like if we can say that if Chinese yuan, if it faces a pressure of appreciation, then because they have followed the fixed exchange rate system, they can't allow it to appreciate. They will have to make efforts to keep it on this level only. And how would they do it? What will the central bank have to do here? Printing of yuan. So whenever they would feel that okay, yuan is facing appreciating pressure, so they will have to make efforts, and that effort would be printing of currency, because demand of yuan is high. That's why it is tending to appreciate. So they would have to release more yuan into the economy and keep it down to this level. This is called as defending the parity. So here, if it is appreciating, they will have to bring it back. So here, the central bank will have to print more yuan and release it in the market. So this is what is called as defending the parity. So this is for the appreciation. Let's say hypothetically, if it faces a pressure of depreciation, then they will have to make efforts to keep it at this level. How would they do it? Yes. Okay, here if it faces the pressure of depreciation, here central bank will have to resort to selling of dollars from where? From the foreign exchange reserve. So here, if it depreciates, so here central bank will have to sell dollars from the foreign exchange reserves and bring it back to this level here. Fine. So this is called as defending the parity, and this would not be a very easy task, especially if you have a depreciating currency. That's why this system is not going to be a very it is not a very suitable system for a country like India, which is a trade deficit nation, and we are majorly an importing nation. So because of which our currency generally faces a depreciating pressure against the dollar. Normally our currency faces a depreciating pressure because of being an import oriented nation. So because of which, if our currency faces a pressure of depreciation usually, so what will happen? So constant, if we will go for this system, then constantly we will have to make efforts to in China's case, because their currency faces a pressure of appreciation, so they have to resort to printing of their own currency, which is relatively an easier task than releasing the dollars from the foreign exchange reserves. Why? Because you have only limited amount of reserves. Printing your currency, you can print as much currency as you want, but dollars are limited in your foreign exchange reserves, so it can put a huge pressure on your foreign exchange reserves, right? So that's why for a country like us, having a depreciating pressure, having this system can give us a lot of difficulty, especially on our foreign exchange reserves. They may face a lot of pressure. That's why we went for the third kind of system, managed float system. Fine. So we have to maintain a fine balance between defending the parity and controlling inflation, yes. But here, if China is constantly printing a lot of yuan, then yes, maybe inflation may occur, but we have discussed that yes, if inflation occurs, they will take some corrective measures for that in future. But first, like here, right now the concern is defending the parity. If defending the parity leads to inflation, they would take corrective measures later. Fine. Here. And what would be a suitable area to announce a parity? Suitable area to announce a parity would be near about the market rate. Okay, so how would they decide that $1.08 yuan? So near about market rate means if left to itself, where would the currency adjust according to demand and supply? Near about that, if you announce your parity, you'll have to make less efforts. If you are too far away from the market rate, then your currency you will have to make a lot of effort. It can put a big pressure. Like for example, in India's case, let's say if today if we want to adopt fixed exchange rate system, so what would be a suitable region to announce it? So if we will announce it at around 83, 84, 85, $1 equals to 85 rupee. Rupee is in that range only, 84 rupee, 83 point something rupee. So let's say if we announce it at around $1 equals to 85, then it will not put a lot of trouble to us. ठीक है 85 वो 84 के पास ही 83 84 85 so will not have to make a lot of effort for maintaining that kind of parity because it is near the market rate only. But if you want to go too far away from the market rate, for example, if you want to go for $1 equals to 50 rupee, okay, if it is too far away from 83 rupee or 84 rupee right now, and if you want to maintain it at 50 rupee, then it would put a huge pressure on our reserves. Okay, we don't even know, I don't know if we have enough of reserves also that we can defend that kind of parity, because it would require huge amount, billions and billions of dollars to maintain that kind of parity. And even if we announce it and we are able to maintain it for certain amount of time, but sooner or later it will put a big pressure on our reserves, and our reserves may get exhausted also in that process. So which area it would be near the market rate? Okay, that is the thing. Fine. So this is about the fixed exchange rate system. It may look simple on the face of it, that that we can announce it, but again, it's not a very it's one of the most challenging ones, because you have to constantly work, like policymakers or the central bank, they have to constantly work to defend this parity. That is the real challenging task, right? And especially it is more challenging for countries which are having a depreciating type of currency, because it will put a huge pressure on your reserves. So that is the thing. Okay? Okay. Whereas some Middle Eastern countries have very high rate of their currency, what is the motive behind that? Okay, इसमें one thing you have to understand, very high rate of currency is not a very big indicator about strength of the currency. Are you getting it? Like $1 goes to 83 rupee, it does not tell much about how the economy is doing, or how your economy is, or how your currency is, and how much is the acceptability. If you know that yen is not a very highly priced currency, Japanese yen, तो प्राइस बहुत कम है, जानते हैं ना, yen का प्राइस, yen is not very highly priced currency, उसकी वैल्यू बहुत कम है अगेंस्ट द डॉलर. आई थिंक जो भी आप होगा, मतलब वो काफी कम है. इट्स आई थिंक रुपी के अगेंस्ट में भी वो काफी कम है. So it does not tell that anything about Japanese economy, that their economy is not good enough, or their currency is not a strong currency. Yen is a strong currency. It is one of the hard currencies, means currencies which have high acceptability for international transactions. So among the four most acceptable currency, yen is also there. Dollar, euro, pound, yen. So yen is also there for international economic transaction. So it does not tell about that. It means that what we see the currency is from comparison on the timeline, that today rupee is on 83, and after some time if it goes on 85, then we would say our currency is depreciating, it is weakening. From 83, if it goes to 80, we will say it is strengthening against the dollar. उससे ये नहीं मालूम, इससे okay, it does not tell, because it depends on a lot of factors actually, that how much of currency is in circulation. Suppose if we will cut down the supply of rupee, then what will happen? Rupee will appreciate obviously, but then it will not meet the demands of the economy. Economy को demand तभी तो circulate. That's why we have increased the circulation, so that it can meet the demand of the economy, that we require those many rupees. That's why we have printing. So generally it is not seen as what is the price of this currency against that currency, and that will define whether this currency is stronger than dollar or weaker. It depends upon timeline, that last year how much, or like last month, or on the timeline how much of this currency was against the dollar, and how much it is right now, and how much it can be in the future. Generally we try to see from there. ठीक है, तो currency का value से उसका नहीं पता चलता. Stock share prices में it's not the share price which can determine whether it's a very good share or bad share, or it is doing good or doing bad. Share price, some shares may be available at 100 rupee. There are other shares who may be priced at 1000 rupee per share, but you can't tell it from that price that 100 रुपी शेयर इज अ गुड शेयर और 1000 रुपी शेयर इज अ स्ट्रॉन्ग शेयर और अ स्ट्रॉन्ग कंपनी, उससे नहीं पता चलता। क्योंकि शेयर का क्या है, आपको अगर 1 लाख रुपी आपको रेज करना था, okay, if you wanted to raise 1 lakh rupee, so if you like announce like if you kept the price of one share at 1000 rupee, then how many of them will be released? 1000 into 100, ठीक है, तो वो 100 शेयर्स ही होंगे मार्केट में। अगर आपने 100 शेयर्स का प्राइस रखा तो इक्विवेलेंट अमाउंट ज्यादा हो जाएगी, 10,000 या जो भी आ रहा है, ठीक है, सो इट विल बी लार्जर, so उनका नंबर ऑफ शेयर्स विल बी मोर। इफ द नंबर ऑफ शेयर्स रिलीज इज लेस, देन शेयर का प्राइस बहुत ऊपर हो जाएगा। तो उससे भी डिफाइन नहीं होता है। डिफाइन किससे होता है शेयर का अच्छा है कि नहीं? लाइक लास्ट ईयर इट वाज 800, नाउ इट हैज गॉन टू 1000, सो इट मींस इट इज इंप्रूविंग। बट द अदर वन, द 100 रुपी शेयर, लास्ट ईयर इट वाज 50, नाउ इट इज 100, so it tells us though the value looks small, 100 rupee, but it has shown an appreciation of 100%. 50, it was 50 rupee last year, this year it is 100 rupee। तो बहुत सारी चीजें डिफाइन करती है। फाइन, getting the sense? So it's not like there are some shares whose price is beyond lakh rupee, 1 lakh rupee, like MRF, there is a share MRF whose share price is more than 1 lakh rupee, क्योंकि उन्होंने उसको ब्रेक ही नहीं किया। क्योंकि आफ्टर अ शेयर गोज बियॉन्ड अ सर्टेन वैल्यू, देयर इज अ टर्म कॉल्ड एज शेयर स्प्लिट। कंपनी ये करती है, शेयर को स्प्लिट कर देती है। जैसे यू हैड 100 शेयर्स ऑफ 1000 रुपी फेस वैल्यू, ठीक है, तो 1 लाख रुपए हो गया। तो अभी आपने देखा कि वो काफी ज्यादा वैल्यू, मतलब पीपल आर फाइंडिंग इट डिफिकल्ट फॉर व्हाटएवर रीजन, दे कैन स्प्लिट इट इनटू 2। तो दे कैन डू इट कि वो 1000 रुपये अगर ज्यादा लग रहा है मार्केट में, so they can break it to 500 rupee share, and then the number of shares would increase, so they would reduce the share price by 50% and they would increase the number of shares। तो ये भी होता है। तो एमआरएफ ने कभी स्प्लिट किया ही नहीं, तो उसका शेयर लाख रुपए से, तो ऐसा मतलब थोड़ी एमआरएफ, दो इट इज अ गुड कंपनी, बट उसका शेयर 1 लाख से ऊपर है, डज नॉट मीन दैट इट इज अ बिगर कंपनी देन रिलायंस। उसका शेयर 2000 रुपए का है या 3000 रुपए का है, तो ऐसा तो नहीं हम कह सकते। तो इट इज, so for the currency also we say the same thing, so it's not that dinar or any other currency, Middle Eastern currency, if they are higher in value then they are stronger than dollar। strong, वो हम लोग, there are different parameters of, okay, seeing the strength, and one of the most important is how much is the demand of that currency for international economic transaction, and how much the value was of that currency in the recent past, and what do we predict, or what will happen with the currency in the coming future. This defines whether currency is doing good or currency is doing bad. Fine. Appreciation is directly dependent on the strength of the currency. Yes, appreciation and strength means the same thing. When we say currency is appreciating, we say the currency is getting stronger. So, and when the currency is depreciating, we say currency is getting weaker. Weakening of currency is what depreciation is. ठीक है, इन सब चीजों को हम लोग ऐसे, this is how we perceive these things. So it's not only about कि dollar, some currency is more than dollar, then it is higher than dollar. Yen का value, yen is very small, like less in value, again, okay, in the exchange terms, but उसका value है, it is a hard currency, very acceptable currency. So we'll leave 2-3 lines after this for advantage, disadvantage. Please leave 2-3 lines after it for advantage, disadvantage. Let's first do the third one, which is the managed float system. Managed float system, for example, like that of India and other developing countries, emerging nations like India. Managed float system. So in this system, the exchange rate of the currency is exchange rate of the currency is market determined. So in India's case also we can say that our exchange rate is also largely market determined, but it is market determined but the central bank or the RBI, in our case the central bank but the central bank may intervene in the price determination but the central bank may intervene in the price determination of currency the currency is showing large scale is showing large scale fluctuations, both appreciation or the exchange rate of the currency here, like in our case, it is market determined in a broad range. Okay, but the central bank sometimes may intervene. And how does the central bank intervene? By printing the currency if it is appreciating, and by selling the dollars if it is depreciating. So this is the intervention we are talking about. So sometimes, generally, in our case, rupee's case also, rupee is largely floating only. Right? Floating means according to the market forces, rupee's price is also largely determined by the market forces only. But yes, sometimes RBI can make intervention, especially when if it is depreciating or appreciating too much. Then large scale fluctuations, if they are there, then RBI can intervene. In that case, central bank can intervene, and it is for this reason that this system is also called as dirty float is also known as a dirty float system. Dirty float system. Dirty float, why? Because it is not purely floating, and this is not the name given by us. Other countries they call it. Other means especially the countries which follow the free float system, they call this system as dirty float system. Dirty means negative connotation. Dirty means because here there is a provision of intervention by the central bank, and intervention of the central bank, it is not liked by other countries because they call it currency manipulation. They say that your central bank, they are trying to manipulate the currency by making an intervention for their own interest. They are not allowing the currency to behave according to the market forces. They are intervening in the market, and they are trying to affect the price of the currency, so which is equivalent to currency manipulation. So there is a possibility of currency manipulation here, and the currency, though it is floating, but it is floating not in a pure manner. That's why they call it, that it is called a dirty float system. That means that there is a possibility of currency manipulation. Okay, so these are the three systems that we have. Now let's talk about the first system, advantage, disadvantage of the first one, flexible exchange rate system. Advantages of this system. So in this system, it promotes international mobility of this system promotes international mobility of liquidity as large scale foreign exchange reserves are not required, which contributes in global economic which contributes in global economic growth. Fine. So in this system, it promotes international mobility of liquidity. What does it mean? First of all, let's first talk about the background here. So we are saying that in this system, large-scale foreign exchange reserves are not required. Large-scale reserves are not required. Why? Because in this system, the central bank does not have the responsibility or job of defending the currency or managing the currency, defending the parity or managing the currency. The Fed Reserve, they don't have this responsibility of defending the parity or managing the currency, for which you may require foreign exchange reserves. So because they don't have to do this thing, okay, like if dollar is falling, crashing, if dollar is depreciating sharply, they'll not have to sell the dollars. Like their Federal Reserve or their central bank is not going to intervene. They would allow the currency to behave as the markets want it to behave. They're not going to make any intervention even if the currency is showing large fluctuations. Okay? And because there is no such requirement of intervention, that's not the job of Fed Reserve. So that's why they don't have to keep a large reserve with them for this purpose. So they don't have to maintain necessarily a large reserve. For example, in India's case, we have to maintain some reserve, good reserve, and one of the reason is this also, that in case rupee is depreciating, then RBI can make an intervention by selling the dollars. In the fixed exchange rate system like that of China, if the currency is falling, they will have to resort to selling of dollars. So that's why they need to maintain a very large reserve. So what is the outcome of that? Like China right now is having foreign exchange reserves of, how much? More than $3 trillion. Okay, so they have huge amount of foreign exchange reserve. More than $3 trillion is a reserve they are maintaining. Our reserve, how much? Around 700, 690, 700, 710. So we can say around $700 billion. India is also maintaining, which is also a good handsome amount. So what happens that all the countries which follow managed float system like us or the fixed exchange rate system like that of China, they have to maintain substantially high amount of reserves with them. So because of which what happens, this amount of foreign exchange is blocked by the central banks, like $3 trillion worth of foreign currencies. They have been blocked by Chinese central bank. 700 billion worth of foreign currencies, they have been blocked by Indian central bank, RBI. Similarly, all the countries which follow such systems, they would block large amount of foreign exchange with them. Because of which, and this currencies, if it is blocked, so it cannot move in the form of investments, fine, globally. In the case of US does not maintain a very, looking at the size of their economy, the reserves are very small. Very small means even in comparison to India, the reserves of USA, they are very less as compared to India. Okay? Reserves of UK or other such countries, they are very, very small. $200 billion, $300 billion. Generally, they keep it in that range. They can keep higher reserves also, but that is not their necessary requirement. Because their Fed Reserve, it is not required to intervene. So because of which what happens? This much amount of foreign exchange is free to flow between the countries in the form of investments and like FDI, FII. And when they are going globally in the form of investments, they contribute in global economic growth. Suppose US also goes for fixed exchange rate system, then what will happen? They will also block large amount of foreign exchange with them globally. So that much amount of foreign exchange will not be free to move between the countries in the form of investments. Suppose US goes for fixed exchange or European central bank, European countries, they go for fixed exchange, UK goes for it, then it will block huge amount of foreign exchange to all these banks, central banks. So that will not be available for the purpose of investment. And when investment will be hampered, global economic growth will also be hampered because growth is directly related to investment. So this is what we are saying, that this system here, it promotes international mobility of liquidity. Mobility means movement. International movement of liquidity means money supply. International movement of money supply. So this system promotes international movement of money supply or liquidity or investment. Okay? another benefit is that the currency becomes a trading commodity. The currency becomes a trading commodity. So why do we say that currency trading? You know that we can trade in currencies also, just how we trade in these shares or stocks. Similarly, to trade internationally, we can trade in currencies also. That is called as forex trade, foreign exchange trading, foreign exchange trade. Fine. In which currencies? Foreign exchange trade means in foreign exchange trade currencies are bought and sold. Okay, for speculative gain. Speculative means short-term gains, or as investments also, people can, there are instruments through which you can invest or you can trade in the currencies as well. So which currencies are more suitable for trading purpose? The currencies whose prices are determined totally by the markets, market driven, because currencies which are highly controlled, trade becomes difficult there. Okay, because they are not playing according to the markets. Like rupee में भी trade होता है, but ज़्यादा investors they would like to trade more in the currencies which are playing according to the market forces, where intervention is less. So they are more suitable. Rupees also traded, but more suitable are the currencies which follow the free float system, because intervention will be less there and their acceptability will be more for the trade. You will be knowing that dollar, आपने सुना होगा, dollar is high in demand. Okay, dollar का demand बढ़ रहा है, घट रहा है, तो means sometimes the demand for dollar goes up and down for international transactions also, and sometimes demand for dollar goes up and down because of the investors' interest in the dollar also. Okay, investors' interest, like people, they can invest in the dollars as well. And dollar, moreover, dollar is seen as of now, like dollar is seen as a safe asset, just like gold. So when internationally you would see that when stock markets are not doing good, when there is too much of volatility in the markets, there are too many economic concerns globally, or wars or situations like that, so whichever has the potential to affect the markets in a big manner, at that time, people they start investing in safer assets like gold and dollars also. Dollar is also considered as a safe asset in the difficult times. So that's why we would see that dollar starts appreciating during such times, because a lot of investment from volatile assets, it comes out and it goes into the purchase of dollars or euros, currencies like that. So they are high in demand for trading purpose also, investment purpose also, speculative gains also, उसके लिए भी इसको करते हैं. So dollar is a highly accepted currency. बहुत सारे ट्रेड होते हैं, जैसे ये तो फिर भी ये तो फिजिकल करेंसी, तो fiat currency, fiat means गवर्नमेंट की करेंसीज हो गया. देन देयर आर क्रिप्टो करेंसीज ऑल्सो, वो भी तो करेंसी का ही ट्रेड है ना. लोग बिटकॉइन खरीद लेते हैं, वो क्या है, दो इट इज अ डिफरेंट फॉर्म ऑफ करेंसी, है तो करेंसी ना. तो मीन्स जस्ट फॉर द एग्जांपल आई एम टेलिंग यू, लोग क्यों खरीद लेते हैं बिटकॉइन, ठीक है. तो अमंग अदर रीजंस ये भी एक रीजन है दैट बिटकॉइन इज सीन एज अ लाइक सोर्स ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट पीपल, क्योंकि बिटकॉइन या अदर काइंड ऑफ यू कैन से okay, like these cryptocurrencies, they investment. Similarly, like just like the cryptocurrencies, people invest in the fiat currencies. इनको fiat currency बोलते हैं. तो जैसे रुपी, डॉलर, यूरो, these are fiat. Fiat means they are there with the order of the, fiat means order, order को बोलते हैं fiat. So fiat currency, FIAT, fiat currencies means currencies which have come from the order of the government. So they are government के orders हैं, वो central bank से managed होती है. Cryptocurrencies नहीं manage होती, तो वो, but they are also market driven. Cryptocurrencies are also, हाँ किसका सही नहीं है, है ही नहीं. Cryptocurrencies have no regulating. That's why all the central banks globally, they, like our RBI and other such banks, they advise people not to invest in such instruments. They try to discourage people from investing in cryptos and all, because it is not regulated. कल की डेट में क्रिप्टो वाला अपनी दुकान बंद कर देगा तो who will take care of that? Okay, कुछ भी हो जाए, मतलब there is no regulation on it. It is to, okay, so nobody knows. मतलब RBI wants people to be more like safe and okay, like we don't know what are the pros and cons. वो खैर अलग मुद्दा है. Fiat currencies have a legal backing, yes, they are by the order of the government. So this is the currency becomes a trading commodity which happens for dollar. Okay. Now let's talk about the disadvantage here. The currency is prone to volatility, which brings in the currency is prone to volatility which brings in uncertainty. Currency is prone to volatility which brings in uncertainty. Volatility means what? Volatility means fluctuations को कहते हैं. Volatility means opposite of stability is volatility. Okay, stable कोई चीज stable नहीं है तो volatile है. Volatile means prices are moving on the upside or on the downside. There's a lot of movement or fluctuations. That is called as volatility. So here the currency is prone to volatility, which brings in a lot of uncertainty. ठीक है, पता नहीं कि कितना भी क्रैश हो सकता है. If because there is no provision of intervention by the government here. So the government or the central banks, because there is no such provision of intervention. That is why currencies may appreciate too much or depreciate too much. So currencies are prone to volatility here. And that is why countries like India, we did not go for this system in totality. Though we adopted this system in a broad range, but if the rupee depreciates or appreciates beyond the comfort level of RBI would make an intervention. Because if RBI would not intervene, rupee can fall to very, very low levels also. That was our fear. That's why, though we adopted this system in a broad range, but we adopted this system with a little modification that sometimes our RBI can intervene. But here in this system, free float system, there is no intervention. There is no provision of intervention. So because of which, what happens now? So now the question would arise here that yes, this was the fear we had. That's why we went for the managed float system. And if that was the fear, aren't these countries afraid of this thing? Like it can happen with dollars or euros, whichever countries are following this system. They can face a very large scale volatility and it can be devastating and it can be like hurtful for the economy. Then why did they go for this system? And why aren't they scared too much like how we are scared in comparison to that, right? So we explain it in these terms that first, larger picture is, you have to understand the larger picture here, that all the advanced mature economies like US, Europe, etc., they have this confidence in their economy and they have this confidence in the investors who are investing in their economy, and they are also confident of their currencies to a large extent, that whatever happens, even if there is economic turbulence, economic problems, wars, pandemics, whatever is there, they have the confidence, large advanced mature economies, that investors are not going to move away from their country in large numbers. Okay, it's not that if things are not going good or US is facing recessionary pressures, then on a large scale there will be a flight of capital. Like huge number of investors will just go out of US and they will go to other countries. Yes, some of them may go, some of them may come, but large scale flight of capital is not going to happen because investors, they show their faith in such mature economies. They have this faith that okay, they may be going through a tough time, but when things will be okay, the economy will come back on track, it will be all that. They have this faith that these economies would be able to bear the shocks, economic shocks, in a much better manner. And also they have big faith in their economy in that way. They have big faith in the investors who are investing there, and also they have big faith in their currency also. Everyone knows that because dollar is in such high demand always, that yes, it may appreciate a little bit, it may depreciate a little bit, but everyone knows that dollar is not going to crash. Whatever happens globally, okay, dollar, like as of now, this is the situation that we know that dollar is not going to crash, euro is not going to crash, currencies crash nahi hongi. Okay, at max they would depreciate to a large extent, ki काफी depreciate हो गया, but they are not going to crash. This everyone knows, because if dollar would come down and prices would look attractive, investors will start purchasing it. Dollar सस्ता हो जाएगा, लोग खरीद लेंगे उसको. Okay, investors, it has such great demand in the global markets that whenever it goes below a certain level, there would be buying started in the dollars and its demand would again go up and its prices would be maintained. So it may depreciate, it may appreciate, but it is not going to crash, or it is not going to fall to very very low levels. ठीक है, तो ये उनके पास कॉन्फिडेंस है. डॉलर, यूरो, पाउंड, all these currencies they have. So whichever countries who have announced this system, they have that kind of faith in their economies also, on their currencies also, and on the investors who are invested there. They have this much of faith. ठीक है. What about countries like India, emerging nations like India? What kind of situations we face in terms of confidence and everything? So generally what happens when things are going good, like globally also, domestically also in our economy, when things are going good, okay, we are witnessing good growth across the markets and everything is going good, then what happens? We provide a very good opportunity for growth. It is the emerging nations which gives you, as an investor, which gives you more opportunity for growing your capital, okay, or extracting more from your investment. Why? Because emerging nation, like if you're invested in India and Indian economy is growing at 7%, 8%, 9%, so it will give you more. जब economy बढ़ रही है तो जहाँ पे the companies in which you are invested in, and if you are invested in such markets, it means you are going to, your capital will also grow proportionally, उसी type से बढ़ेगी, because the economy is growing so well of 6-7%. Like US economy, European economies, they cannot grow beyond 1%, 2% now. They are already very bulky economies, so they can't grow at 6. So yes, your capital will not be wiped out, but it will not also grow, okay, in a way that it can grow in the emerging nations. That's why the emerging markets like India, we give a very good opportunity for FDI, FII. They like to invest in the emerging markets a lot more. Why? Because we provide very good opportunity for growth of capital. Fine. So what happens when things are going good globally? We would be very attractive destination for foreign investments. We would get a lot of FDI, lot of FIIs. So things would be going very well. But suddenly, when the things are not going that great, or if there are economic problems coming up, domestic reasons or international reasons, because of which there are turbulences expected in the economy or turbulences happening in the economy, these foreign investors, especially the FIIs, they don't show a lot of faith. They don't retain their faith. What happens whenever when things are going good, they would invest in large numbers to take benefit of the growth. But whenever things are not that great, they would be very skeptical about that this economy will be able to bear such shocks or not. They don't have that much of confidence in the emerging nations. So what they do is, and they have put in billions and billions of dollars here, so they don't want to risk their capital. So what they will do is, and on very early signs of any turbulence, they would take their capital, especially the FIIs, they would take their capital and move away. So, and when on a large scale, when investors, they start going out of your country on a large scale, what would it lead to? It would lead to what? Very large scale depreciation of your currency, because वो सब इतना numbers से बाहर जाएंगे, तो they'll have to convert all that rupee into dollar, and then they'll take the dollars or euros out. So it puts a huge pressure on your domestic currency. Sometimes your currencies, if the outward movement, or you can say flight of capital, it is called, if the flight of capital is very huge, on a very large scale, foreign investors are moving away, it can even crash your currency. Your currency may even crash. Crash का मतलब it can fall to very very unexpectedly lower levels also. That is the fear which the emerging nations have. So that is the larger perspective. That, and why they are able to do it, why we have been cautious in that regard. We have been cautious because we know our situation. We know that when things are going good, they would come and invest heavily, and it would contribute also in our economy. But when things are not that great, they would go out in large scale, and then it would put a big pressure on our currency, and our currency can fall to very, very. So that is the concern associated with this system. That's why we did not go for this system in totality. We adopted this system with a little modification that there, if it goes beyond levels, we are going to intervene, and we are going to restrict such movements. This is the thing. This is the larger picture. Okay? So now let's talk about the fixed exchange rate system. Fixed exchange rate system advantage. Fixed exchange rate. क्या कह रहे हैं दिव्या? Who determines the rate of cryptocurrency or Bitcoin? Who determines that? Markets, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, everything, they're all market determined. Totally market determined. So demand and supply of the cryptocurrencies would, हाँ? ये supply limited नहीं है. वो भी कभी-कभी mining होता है ना? वो अभी पूरा mining नहीं हुआ है ना? तो हाँ, तो जब तक वो माइन आउट जितना सप्लाई है उसका माइन आउट माइनिंग होता है कुछ उसमें, तो हाँ, तो जो भी है तो उसको माइनिंग करते हैं, तो मतलब वो सप्लाई थोड़ा बहुत बढ़ता है घटता है, और कितना डिमांड बढ़ रहा है तो सप्लाई तो है ही फॉर दैट सप्लाई. जब सप्लाई चलो कांस्टेंट भी हो जाएगा फ्यूचर में, तो उसके बाद डिमांड पे डिपेंड करेगा. सो इट इज डिटरमाइंड टोटली बाय द मार्केट्स. ठीक है, बट इट इज अनरेगुलेटेड. फिक्स्ड एक्सचेंज रेट एडवांटेज. सो प्लीज राइट एडवांटेज. So this system first advantage of fixed exchange rate, this system is attractive. It is attractive for the foreign investors. This system is attractive for the foreign investors because of the stability it offers. This system is attractive for the foreign investors because of the stability it offers. Second point, I'll explain it. Second point is the devaluation of the currency is used as a tool to make the exports competitive devaluation of the currency is used as a tool to make the exports competitive in the global markets. Okay, the first point here, that this system here, the fixed exchange rate system, because the currency is not going to show fluctuations here, it is fixed, and because of which, because the currency is fixed, it is not going to show fluctuations. So this system is attractive for the foreign investors because of the stability it offers. Because foreign investors, and this point here, let's discuss it more here. And this point would tell us that how important the stability of the currency is to attract the foreign investors. Because the foreign investors, this is a very big risk, that when they're bringing in millions and billions of dollars in your country, so they don't want to risk their capital. That is why investors, domestic or global, investors, they demand stability in currency not only in currency. They demand stability in everything. Everything means in most of the aspects they want stability, political stability. Investors, domestic or global, they demand when they are investing in your country. So they want stability of all kinds. They want political stability. That's why you would see that whenever in the after the election, if you will see a majority government is coming in, whichever the party is, it does not matter much. But if a majority government comes in markets like it, investors they like it, markets would show very good like rebound, or you can say, okay, they would jump on this news that if majority, if coalition government would come, markets don't like it, investors don't like coalition governments that much. Why? The reason is simple, because it brings in a lot of uncertainty. Coalition governments means uncertainty, okay, fluctuations in the policies, and that is not very good for the investors or the investments, because you want certainty in the policies, you want continuity in the policies. Coalition government means too much fluctuation, so markets don't like it that much in comparison, so they would like. So they want political stability, they want, you can say, stability in the taxes, stability in the policies, they want stability in the society. Society means there should not be frequent riots in your economy, there should not be terrorism, terrorist-like activities. So these are all, okay, like, okay, destabilizing factors. Investors are not going to like it. So if you want to attract foreign investors, if you want to retain domestic investors, for that we have to create an environment which breeds stability of all kinds. Okay, so that is a way to attract foreign investors. So we are saying, like, in this system, fixed exchange rate system, this is a very, like, it is very, very attractive for the foreign investors to invest in the countries which follow a fixed exchange rate system. We are not saying this is the only factor, but among other contributing factors, stability of currency is also a very big factor. For example, if we talk about China, so how China is able to attract like these foreign investors on such a large scale? We know China is a, like, they attract a lot of FDI. Most of the companies, they have their factories located in China. So China is a very attractive destination for FDI also, for FII also. So we're not saying this is the only reason. They have many other factors also, like their infrastructure, their labor laws, and other such technology, or many such things. So among other things, the stability of the currency is also a very big factor in attracting the foreign investors in China, stability of the currency. And we'll just talk about it here by taking India's example, that what can the fluctuation of the currency do to the foreign investment, fine, and why are they so concerned about, they are so cautious about stability of the currency. What can happen if the currency fluctuates too much or depreciates too much after they have invested, and why RBI or the central banks, they are very much particular about depreciating currency. Okay, they take prompt actions if currency is witnessing sharp declining tendencies. So why currency is taken so seriously? Okay, so one of the reason is this. Let's, like, in case of India, let's consider a situation in which some foreign investment came into India. So let's assume that India attracted an investment of $1, and at the time when dollar was coming in exchange rate was that $1 equals to 80 rupee. Okay? So when investment is coming in, $1 equals to 80 rupee, that means foreign investor who got $1 will get how many rupees here? So he will get it converted into rupees, so he will get 80 rupee, and he would invest 80 rupee in our market, in our economy. So let's assume that, let's consider a situation in which after he has invested in our economy, after that, because of some events, rupee witnesses a big sharp fall from this level, $1 80 rupees. So for the sake of simplicity, let's assume it $1 equals to INR 160. So rupee witnesses this kind of crash. From 80 rupee per dollar, rupee has fallen to 160 rupee per dollar. Now, if this investor wants to go back now, he wants to convert, so what will he, how many dollars is he going to carry back? No, not $1, because he has 80 rupee, and when he will convert those 80 rupee, he will get, because now that exchange rate will not be applicable. When he wants to go back, let's say rupee has fallen to this level, $1 160. So in 160 rupee you get a dollar, in 80 rupee you will get only half a dollar. Okay, only half a dollar. Can you see the intensity here? Half a dollar means, let's say if he has brought in $500 million, he is taking back only $250 million. Half of his capital has been wiped out. इसको कहते हैं crashing. What can crashing or very heavy depreciation of the domestic currency can do to the foreign investors or foreign investment? It can wipe out their substantial amount of capital. The substantial amount of capital has been wiped out, and this is a very huge fear. बाकी और चीज तो क्या होगा क्या नहीं होगा, करेंसी का डेप्रिशिएट हो गई इन दी कंट्री इन विच दे हैव इन्वेस्टेड, एंड दैट डोमेस्टिक करेंसी आफ्टर देयर इन्वेस्टमेंट इफ इट डेप्रिशिएट्स टू वेरी लो लेवल्स, then it will mean a big wipe out of their capital. So investors, they naturally they would be scared of this event. They have come here to earn 20, 30, 40, 50%, but if their capital is going to wipe out, then it will put their capital in a big risk, which no investor would like. That's why the fluctuation of the currency is taken very seriously by the investors also, by the policy makers also. That is why in emerging markets like us, we take the currency's depreciation very seriously, because what may happen is it can suppose these are the level 80 against dollar, $1 equals to 80, then 85, why currency depreciation is taken so seriously. Suppose rupee falls from 80 rupee per dollar to, let's say, यहाँ से 82 पे आ गया. Okay, so it would start suddenly. Okay, it would, like investors, foreign investors who are investing, and in a very short period of time, rupee falls from 80 rupee per dollar to 82 rupee. So it will make the investors a little uncomfortable, because they're not going to wait from 80 rupee. Okay, they will not wait throughout that. When it will fall to 160 level, then only we will leave. The investors, they would start leaving, like especially I'm talking about FIIs who are invested in the stock markets, bond markets. They would start exiting your economy as and when their risk level reaches. So there are different investors with different risk profiles. So some would wait for a little more fall, that okay, we'll leave then. So what happens, there are some psychological levels also in the markets. कुछ psychological levels भी होते हैं, and it always plays. There are certain psychological levels in markets also. Psychological level मतलब जैसे in cricket we have psychological levels, that in one day international 300 score of 300 is a psychological level, that 299 gives a different picture, different feeling, and 301 runs they give a different figure. That 300 score is a psychological level कि बना कि नहीं बना, ठीक है. So such kind of levels are there in the markets also, stock market, currency markets, everywhere certain levels are there. So what happens? So that is why RBI takes the depreciation very seriously, because what can start is like when rupee fell from 80 to 80, suddenly it fell to 82. So it would create it would make the investors uncomfortable, but they may not leave, okay, at this level. They would see that okay, let's wait for a little more time, depending on where the markets is having the psychological levels. So let's say यहाँ तक तो ठीक है, लेकिन if it would breach 83 level and it would reach 84, then big number of investors may be waiting here, that as soon as it touches 84 we will leave the country. And what will happen now? Because rupee is depreciating, investors are leaving, and because investors would leave, rupee would fall further. So it vicious cycle start हो जाएगा. So because rupee is falling, investors are leaving. When they would leave, it would put more depreciating pressure. So it may have taken some amount of time from 80 to 82, then 82 to 84. But suddenly after 84, if large scale flight of capital happens, suddenly it will slip to 85 or 86, and then there may be different levels. Different investors may be having different levels of psychological levels. Some may be waiting at 85. Okay, that okay, if it touches 85, then we will leave. So it will touch 85, so suddenly it may fall to 90 then after 90 it may more number of investors will be waiting at that level. Then large number of investors will be waiting at 100. वहाँ से निकलेंगे तो रुपये फिर what is it? So now RBI, that's why RBI would do what? RBI knows that, okay, if we allow this to happen, then we would enter into a very vicious cycle and rupee can crash to very, very low levels also. So that is why RBI would make all its efforts to contain rupee at near about this level कि ये situation आए ही ना, okay, in short term. ऐसा नहीं कि rupee कभी 84 touch नहीं करेगा, but suddenly in 3 months it moved from 80 to 82 and another 3 months it moved from 82 to 83 and then it is making, so what, suddenly a lot of things have happened. But if through the efforts of RBI, if RBI would be able to contain rupee at the level of 83 point something, 83 point something for let's say 1 year, 1.5 year, after that even if it touches 84, because now markets will be like factoring this thing in, that sooner or later it will touch 84 also.